The GCAP 6th generation fighter program has received its first contract. The agreement was formalized a few days ago between GCAP and the joint venture Edwing, two entities that work to connect the government sector with the industrial sector. Specifically, the contract awarded on April 1st is worth £686 million, about 800 million euros. You can do the exact conversion, and has a deadline set for June 30, 2026. The agreement concerns design and engineering activities. They don't go into too much detail in the official communication. However, this type of contract is a cornerstone of this program, which doesn't want the three main players in this defense industry venture to operate individually. That is the United Kingdom, Japan, and of course, yes, Italy. For the first time, activities that were previously developed through separate contracts are now brought together within a fully organized international program. This element represents a significant change in the overall management of the project within a European context. Well, let's say it, that often it has often worked well, but just as often disunited, let's use a euphemism, when it comes to bringing together its capabilities to produce a common platform. Before you write to me, yes, Japan is also involved, so it's not entirely correct to talk only about a European context, but bear with me in the explanation. For those who missed it in previous episodes, Edwing is the industrial joint venture tasked with leading the design and development of the future aircraft. The company was officially launched in June 2025, is based in the United Kingdom, and is one of the milestones of this journey that began in the early 2020s. The major industrial players currently are BAE Systems, Leonardo, and GCAP for Japan, each with a 33.3% stake. So, Edwing will retain the design authority of the aircraft for its entire expected operational lifespan, which is projected to extend, believe it or not, beyond 2070. The role of the joint venture is to integrate the requirements of the three partner countries into a single coherent platform, shaping the countries' requests to ultimately create the final platform. To be honest, as we often tell you, technically speaking, referring to the GCAP as a single platform isn't correct. This aircraft is conceived as a plurality of systems, a system of systems that will be the core of a broader organism, capable of taking on multiple roles and communicating with a variety of systems across all domains: air, land, sea, space, and cyberspace, as well as giving rise to loyal wingman drones, which have been mentioned a lot lately. At the center of this architecture, however, is the manned aircraft, which serves as the main platform connected to peripheral systems, both manned and, as mentioned, unmanned. This approach aims to integrate sensors, data networks, and distributed platforms. The project involves close collaboration between different assets, with the goal of creating an operational network capable of sharing information and coordinating operations in real time. The aircraft, as you can understand, therefore takes on the function of a node within a larger system. To give you a concrete example of the new systems that are intended to be integrated, according to Army recognition, the radar planned for the new fighter jet will be able to generate up to 10,000 times more data than current systems. In fact, the new aircraft must no longer be just pure fighters, but must also encompass much more within them. They need to have data fusion capabilities, processing and communication with platforms like the aforementioned drones, which can be assigned riskier tasks if necessary, preserving the lives of pilots. And more cynically, the aircraft itself, which will most likely have a very high cost per unit. Overall, the program aims to develop a platform capable of operating in environments characterized by advanced electronic warfare, where activities such as detection, jamming, and target identification happen simultaneously. And we're not looking too far into the future. As the war in the Middle East shows us, even actors who theoretically shouldn't have the capabilities to do so are able to challenge fifth-generation machines, fifth-generation aircraft, and as a result, being able to operate from greater distances in connection with orbital sensors or unmanned aircraft. It's not just industrial peacocking, but a necessity for survival in crisis scenarios that, unfortunately, we are getting used to. Before continuing, 30 seconds to remind you that this project is possible thanks to you. And remember to leave a like, share this video, and let me know below in the comments what you think about this news. If you particularly like what we do and want to improve the technical quality, consider subscribing. Thank you very much. As we were saying, to give you some concrete data, on the propulsion front, the same source mentioned earlier talks about an interesting and noteworthy collaboration involving Rolls-Royce IHI and Avio Aereo. The planned architecture is not limited to generating thrust, but also includes the ability to power significantly higher electrical loads compared to current platforms. Because, as you can understand for yourselves, the new systems are and will be increasingly energy hungry and will therefore require more onboard energy for cooling and computing power. This is something that, if you think about it, we mention very often when we talk about naval units. Naval units, in fact, will increasingly be equipped with so-called directed energy weapons, which by their nature are very energy hungry. But in this way, they replace, where necessary and where possible, more sophisticated weapons that are more expensive both logistically and economically. Now, as you know, we've talked about it in detail here on this channel. The GCAP program represents a significant investment for the countries involved, including ours, Italy. The latest estimates indicate that the costs for the initial phase have risen to over 18 billion euros, which, keep in mind, will be spread out over several years. But let's also remember that this, in our humble opinion, is an industrial investment. And it's a fundamental piece for creating that sovereignty in the defense sector, to seek increasingly marked independence from those unpredictable moods of the United States, which now threaten every other week to leave the Atlantic Alliance. The interest in the GCAP is fueled by the declared or suggested willingness of other countries to join the program. Poland officially declared it a few weeks ago, and India and Saudi Arabia are other potential partners. Lastly, how can we not mention Germany, which, with the FCAS program in limbo, to put it kindly, could become part of this industrial alliance, which we hope will not be distorted by the requests and needs of individual countries, which are geographically and industrially very different from each other. I left out the words geographically and industrially when talking about the countries. As you know, in fact, each nation can have, also due to its own characteristics and doctrines, different needs that end up distorting the platform, the shape of the aircraft. That said, many of you asked me in the comments to take a closer look at this new contract, so here I am at your disposal. I hope you had a good Easter, and I'll see you soon here on Gens Italia. Sources are in the first comment. As always, bye.